What's up, everybody? It's the one, the only, the Phenome, and welcome to a Phenome special video, which is regarding World of Warcraft Legion. Now, as you may or may not know, in the previous weekend, the company Blizzard Entertainment had their yearly convention called BlizzCon, and there they discussed quite a few things about the new World of Warcraft expansion, Legion. In particular, what interested me was the artifact weapons. Basically, this is going to be a weapon that each spec for each class will receive, and basically that's going to be their weapon for the entire expansion. And these weapons are powerful, very powerful indeed. That's why they earned the name artifact, and also they have a story behind them. So in this new series of videos, I'll try to look at all the specs, all the classes, all the specs, all the weapons, basically see what's what, how well they fit, what might happen with them, how you might obtain them, and so on and so forth. So we're going to start off with the Death Knights, and yeah, let's get right into it, beginning with Blood. So Blood is the tanking spec for the Death Knight class, and the weapon they're going to be using is called Maw of the Damned. Now, the description for this weapon reads: an ancient legion axe forged from a metal that drains its victims' vital energies. The soul of its original creator is trapped within and cursed with unending hunger. For more than 1,000 years, an old and cunning Moarg has used the axe to butcher uprisings and consume the life force of the legion's foes. Over its long and infamous history, the weapon has made its demonic bearer extraordinarily powerful. Okay, so what do we learn from this description? Well, first off, this is a Legion-made weapon, so no surprises on the soul draining part here. Also, the particular soul of the weapon's creator could actually prove to be an issue for the DK who wants to wield it, since it could cause the wielder to lose control at some point and go into a blood frenzy, or something like that. The actual wielder at the moment is a Moarg demon. Although you could argue that the cursed soul of the creator could wield the demon, similar like I assumed with the DK, who would want to use it later on in the game. In any case, this demon should be familiar to anyone who has properly quested through Outland, because Moarg could be found at forge camps and invasion points all over this shattered realm. And now, if you travel around Outland and you look at the map, usually the black dots on the map, they are usually locations for these forge camps and invasion points, and you can find Moarg at those positions. Now, even though they initially could be mistaken for mutated orcs, this little information snippet actually kind of counters that theory, because it does say for more than 1,000 years, and the orcs haven't been in the Legion fold for, well, they were only for a couple of years, and that was a very recent event. Right, the passage which states that the Moarg has been consuming life force of the Legion's foes might actually reveal a possible mechanic of the weapon, in my eyes. This could range from a simple leech stat increase, like the tertiary stat at the moment, which just gives you lifesteal on every hit. That could range also to, maybe having an ability to drain life force from defeated enemies and use it as a shield, or maybe a buff to your damage, because Blood Death Knights do have the ability to do decent damage in fights as well. So, regardless, this does seem to be a kind of vampiric style weapon, and it'll be interesting to see which way the designers actually take the idea of this weapon, because, yeah, there are interesting variants to go through here. And speaking of variants, let's take a look at the visual weapon variants. Right here. Well, this really looks like a collection of weapons which you wouldn't want to see in the hands of your enemies. I mean, each weapon that you see here, it radiates malice, dread, and basically sheer brutality, by the looks of it. From the jagged edges of the blades to the blood flowing down from the skull's mouth on the weapon, these would fit the theme of a brutal manslayer perfectly, at least in my eyes. Initially, I thought that the variant on the far right didn't really fit the Blood DK fantasy, but on the other hand, with a color variation, it could be as perfectly fitting as any other of these axes. And also, I think having something different, like that, could really make you stand out amongst your peers, if that is what you wish. Actually, oh no, I think the art team has done a brilliant job on these weapons, and I can't wait to see them in action. But if I had to pick a personal favorite, by the way, then I would probably go for the one in the middle. Or perhaps the more side looking to the right. Those both are absolutely gruesome weapons, and that's exactly what the blood spec is about. Okay, enough of that. Let's switch over to the Frost DK weapons. Now, Frost is also going to be a damage spec for the Death Knight, and the weapons that Frost Death Knights will be wielding are called Icebringer and Soul Reaper, otherwise known as the Blades of the Fallen Prince. Now, the description reads: crafted by the Burning Legion to corrupt the world of Azeroth, the soul-stealing runeblade Frostmourne was shattered by Ashbringer atop Icecrown Citadel. Countless souls were freed from the broken blade, but others were not so fortunate. Today, the shards of Frostmourne can be recrafted and infused with even more power. However, the spirits still trapped within must first be subdued and bent to the wielder's will. Oh yes, the first one of the more controversial choices made by the developers. Now, if you haven't played World of Warcraft or Warcraft 3, or maybe if you lived under a rock for the past 15 years, you might not know that the Runeblade Frostmourne has shaped a large part of the lore in the world of Azeroth. This is the demonic weapon which corrupted the Prince of Lordaeron, Arthas, and later, when said prince became the Lich King, which is, again, a very different story in and of itself. Basically, this weapon was instrumental in exerting his power and his dominance over his scourge and over various parts of the world where the scourge reigned supreme. Now, as it was said in the description, it was shattered on top of Icecrown Citadel by Ashbringer, and because of that, the Lich King was defeated. Now, even at that stage, after the defeat of the Lich King, there was speculation that the shards of the shattered runeblade still held great power within them, but hilariously, no one actually picked them up. I mean, there were rumors about several people who could be in possession of these shards, such as maybe Arthas' former lover, Jaina Proudmoore, maybe his arch nemesis, Sylvanas Windrunner, or maybe the wielder of the Ashbringer himself, Tyrion Fordring. But with this description, we can deduce that they were just left there, just left to lay there on top of Icecrown Citadel. Now, that doesn't really seem like good thinking on the part of basically Team Good Guys, since in theory there could be baddies who would gladly use the power of these shards and use them for their own ends. For example, even during the Cataclysm, like maybe Twilight's Hammer would have recognized that the shards were left there, they could have gone and picked them up. Cho'Gall could have gotten even more weird after that. But anyhow, that's a completely different story. Of course, we shouldn't forget that the new Lich King, or rather, the self-proclaimed Jailer of the Damned, think Undead Scourge instead of the word damned, basically Bolvar Fordragon, he could have had the Scourge minions, which he now controls, he could have had his minions protecting the shards, so no one could get to them. Whatever the truth may be, I reckon that a part of this quest could actually have you interacting with Bolvar, and maybe he could even teach you how to bind the shards together, since he might have had a lot of time with them. Basically, he could tell you how to craft these blades. Now, I'm a bit concerned about the bit where you have to subdue the spirits that are supposedly still trapped in there. Now, first of all, why would they still be trapped in there? I mean, was it like, okay, X amount of spirits can go out, and then we're just shutting the door, and no one else can get out? I mean, that's kind of stupid, in my opinion. And also, I know that DKs aren't exactly the good guys, especially when you look at their spells and abilities, but they aren't the evil sods they were when they were under Lich King's control, let's be honest. And basically, at the moment, they are walking the fine line between fighting for good, but using the power of evil in the process, kind of like Demon Hunters will be doing in the upcoming expansion. Now, that's why it's going to be very interesting to see how exactly these spirits will be subdued, and which side will the DKs lean towards? Like, the more light side, maybe they're going to strike a deal with these spirits or something, although I can't really see how that's plausible, but who knows. or will they go on basically on the dark side, and they will basically smash these spirits into those blades, and yeah, they're gonna work for the Death Knights. Yeah, and also, if you got confused by all the names and lore events that I just mentioned, look up Nobble's lore videos, or articles on WoW Wiki. That could give you more insight on those topics, because here it's about the weapons. That's why I'm not going to get too much into particular lore of some events that might have occurred before that. Right. Now, all that done and dusted, let's take a look at the weapon variants. And here we can see that these are very fitting weapons for the class, in my eyes. But to be honest, I'm not a fan of the two blades on the right. Now, the one near the middle, like to the right from the middle weapon, it seems a bit simplistic. If you craft a weapon from the shards of this legendary rune blade, it has to look awesome. And basically, it's just metal. It's just a piece of iron with a bit of fancy work on it. It's nothing too special. And yeah, well, the right one, the bone one, I'm just not a fan of bones. I'm not a fan of bones. Fans of maybe Syndragosa, who really like Syndragosa, and Frostworms, that might be a good fit for you. But for me, no, just no. The other three are quite alright, actually. My favorite being the enhanced version of the original weapon, which is to the like the middle one of those three blades on the left side. Yeah, it's really cool. I really love the kind of the ice on the blade, also with the visible runes, which really resemble Frostmourne, which is awesome, just awesome. And also, I really like the skull crest as well on that particular weapon. It fits perfectly with everything else, and all in all, it's a complete weapon, which I really enjoy. I really like that. I really do. The basic sword on the far left is also pretty nice, but I think the dark color scheme doesn't really do it any favors, and some of the work is not really visible, because the runes are there. When upon close inspection, they are there, but they're not lit up. Maybe that's why they are on the enhanced weapon, but on the basic one, they're not lit up, and that could have given that sword a lot better look, in my opinion. As for the one in the middle, it is quite cool from an aesthetic point of view, but this might sound ludicrous, but it doesn't seem too practical for me. I mean, a blade has to be practical. It has to be able to do its job, and it just doesn't look like it. This blade will do that. And yeah, basically, there is one more concern, and that regards all of these blades. Basically, these swords are one-handers, and the thing is, they're going to be very small. And I kind of feel sorry. I almost feel sorry for these digital swords, basically fictional swords, because not everyone will be able to appreciate them. Like, for example, you'll be able to appreciate a staff or a two-handed weapon because of their size, and you can see the detail much better. On these, you won't really be able to appreciate it. But when you compare them on a decent scale, like when you see all the features on these weapons, they are on par with everything else that has been shown to us, with all the other variations, all the other weapons. They stack up well. They are definitely in the top half of the artifact weapons. Right. Also, last thing I want to say, the variety with these swords is really nice. But basically, it feels like there is a sword for everyone here, and it's very cool. Right, let's go on to the final spec, and that is Unholy. So Unholy Death Knights are also damage dealers, and the weapon they are going to be wielding is called Apocalypse. Now, the description reads, vampiric demons known as Nathrazim forged this ancient sword, which brings with it violence, plagues, and death. Apocalypse soon earned a horrific reputation in the hands of a Tirisgard mage who can control its destructive energies. In time, the sword was seized by the malevolent Dark Riders, servants of Medivh, the corrupted guardian of Tirisfal. They hid the blade in the catacombs under his home. the Tower of Karazhan. Ooh, yes. Okay, this weapon really seems like a threat not only to your enemies, but to everyone around it. Again, as it was with the previous Death Knight weapons, sort of, this one is made by the demons. This time, the Nathrazim are called in particular. You may know them as Dreadlords as well. Um, Honestly, it would have been more fitting if they would have been credited with the creation of the Blood Death Knight axe, the Maw of the Damned, since they look like vampires. They are kind of like the vampires of WoW, and plague isn't really their forte. That is more like a necromancer thing. And yeah, it would have been more fitting if the Nathrazim would have forged a vampiric weapon, basically that leeches life, just like they do in many cases. Despite all this sword really does seem like the perfect tool for a Deathbringer, as it seemingly kills everything in its vicinity. It has the ability to do that, and as we can read in the description, in the hands of a weak wielder, its destructive energies can really get out of hand, and surely it has caused a large amount of devastation in its time. Right. At the moment, though, it is in the possession of the Dark Riders of Karazhan, who were servants of the corrupted Guardian Medivh. And the best part about all of this, basically all the storyline, the blade is kept in the catacombs beneath Karazhan. Now you may ask, what is so special about this? Well, first of all, the Karazhan catacombs actually exist in the game already, but are inaccessible through normal means, so the only way in is through exploits. And now, with this expansion, we are finally going to be able to see a proper made version of the Karazhan catacombs, because even the exploitable, even if you exploit your way into the current catacombs, that's basically a section of rooms. Yes, there are features there, but definitely not as much as a fully fleshed out zone. And also, another thing that is going to be pretty damn cool is the fact that the Dark Riders, they do exist in the lore. This has been confirmed, at least as far as I know, but they haven't really featured in the game. And this is a great way to kind of shed some light on these characters and learn a bit more about them, who they are, what they are maybe, and what are they doing. Actually, I mean, Medivh has been gone for quite a long time already, and they're still sticking around. So that's going to be another kind of layer of lore with this in connection to this weapon. In my opinion, there is a concern, and it lays with the fact that Karazhan is considered one of the best raids ever made in WoW, and I think people will agree with me on that. People still really like to go to Karazhan and experience that raid, all the interesting encounters and the way it was set up. It was brilliant. And the thing is that the catacombs, they have to live up to the standard of expectations, because you could get in there, and there has been speculation of what could have actually been implemented down there. And now that they're finally doing it, I think there's a lot of pressure on the devs to deliver here, because if they mess this up, if they create a lackluster area, that this backlash from that could be pretty savage, at least in my opinion. Right, as for actually obtaining the weapon, I think this is going to be kind of a gauntlet challenge, and you're going to have to go through the catacombs, carve a straight path in, then you're going to face off with one of the riders, slay him. Will he be wielding the blade? Will he be guarding it? We don't know, but basically there will be an encounter with at least one of the riders, and after clearing the one or the several riders, you take the blade, and I think then you'll have to fight your way out, as maybe you struggle to control the blade, and maybe it will bring, I don't know, maybe since this is a bit of a necromantic sword, maybe it will bring the dead to life, and you're going to have to cut through them, just trying to kind of contain the power of the sword. That's just one of the possibilities that I'm considering, but there's obviously there are many ways to go with this. Right. Let's get into the weapon variants. Let's be honest here. This might be one of the most diverse collections of weapons in the entire artifact weapon pool. Seems like the artists just had the permission to go wherever they wanted with this sword, and boy, have they done that. Straight sword, fiery sword, hook sword, bent sword. It's all here. It's all done basically. Everything you could want. For me personally, the one that is to the right with the bright green flames between, next to the hook sword, that is the one that I prefer. And yeah, that is basically the sword of choice for me. The original is also very nice, but I would have liked more flames maybe coming from the runes. Maybe the picture was just taken like this. In game, it would have more flames like around it, but it's nice. It's nice. From the aesthetics point of view, the hook sword is really badass. The color scheme is great, and yeah, the color scheme is great, and the look of it is menacing, and it works kind of from a visual standpoint. But again, it's functionality. I want my sword to look functional, and this just doesn't look like that. I mean, call it stupid, but that's how I feel about it. Also, the two other swords, the curved blade, surprisingly, a curved sword usually looks really menacing, but this one just doesn't. It just looks like a piece of iron, basically with a slightly fiery tip. It looks nice, but again, in terms of functionality, it completely fails in my eyes. And the bent sword, this is a really weird one actually, because I like it. Again, I like it visually. It looks pretty cool, but it's again, maybe in terms of functionality, this is not so bad. Although all those jagged edges, you would think jagged edges would help with tearing wounds, but I don't know. It doesn't seem functional, and basically it's missing something. Maybe at the head of the sword, I don't like that everything is like so gone so wide. Maybe considering the sword itself is kind of thin in the middle, but then it just widens out at the head for no apparent reason. I don't know. There's something intangible missing. I can't really say what it is, but yeah, basically not too plussed about that from a functionality point of view. But all in all, they're all, in terms of design, they're all great. They're all great, and with the peculiarities, that's just my opinion. And I would love to hear what you say about this. So yeah, feel free to discuss this in the comments below. So, that'll be it for the Death Knight weapons. Altogether, I think they have one of the best looking weapon packages of all classes, basically, in terms of visuals, especially with the blood and unholy specs. And in terms of story, it will be interesting to see where the developers go with the Blades of the Fallen Prince for Frost, and how the questline will deal with the questions that I posed, because I think they will have to deal with those questions in any case. Just to complete the story. The other two seem to have decent stories, and the weapons themselves are pretty powerful, as was said in the description. So yeah, that Burning Legion craftsmanship. Yeah, that is going to be it for this video, so I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, then feel free to subscribe to my channel. Leaving a like or a comment would also be very, very helpful. And don't forget that the channel also has pages on Twitter and Facebook, so go check them out to get some extra info on the uploads. And yeah, maybe if you want to interact, that's also an option. No problem. Right, so that's going to be the end of this video. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.